Today we're talking about writing and graphing inequalities. So an inequality is a mathematical sentence that compares expressions. An inequality contains these symbols here, the less than, the greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal. Those are the symbols that we use. So it's similar to an equation, which is also comparing expressions, but remember an equation, obviously the left side and the right side are equal. The inequalities are not going to be equal, and they have those symbols to express that. The little chart here shows us some of the phrases that we see on when we're trying to determine if something is less than with less than symbol, if it includes also the or equal to portion, depending on what the sentence phrase is saying. So writing inequalities is very similar to writing equations, except you have to look for the phrases. So in these few examples, you can see that the first one, number w minus 3.5, is right here. It's less than or equal to, so I have to have the less than symbol with the or equal to part at the bottom, the negative 2. The last one is a little more complicated. You have the 0 is greater than or equal to, so you have the greater than or equal to symbol. Twice a number would mean 2 times that variable x plus 1. So then we have to talk about solutions of an inequality. So solutions are a value that makes that inequality true, just like when we talk about equations. The difference is, in an inequality, we can have more than one solution, whereas the equations typically have the one answer, x equals 3, x equals 10. A solution set, which is what we call our solutions for an inequality, is any number that makes that true. So how do I know if it's something that is a true statement? So here we have two different inequalities. We want to know whether negative 4 is a solution. So the best way to do this is to just plug in negative 4 for the variable and solve with GEMDAS what is the bottom line. Well, negative 4 plus 8 is 4 is less than negative 3. Well, that is not a true statement, so it is not one of our solutions from the solution set. For letter B, when I plug in the negative 4, I get a positive 18 is greater than negative 21. Well, this is a true statement. This is a solution to this problem. So then we talk about the graph of an inequality. This is showing us the solution set of the inequality on a number line. So what we have to look at is first two things. An open circle is used when the number is not a solution. If that circle is closed, that means that it is a part of the solution. Then we use an arrow to the left or right to show that the graph continues in that direction. We would only be using the open circle for the less than symbol or the greater than symbol. When we involve the or equal to either less than or greater than, then we use that closed circle. So here's an example. So y is less than or equal to negative 3. So on the number line, and we want to make sure that we have a nice, clean, straight number line for all of these, we want to at least include 3 numbers. Notice that they're not starting with a 0 down the middle. What you want to do is just kind of put your main solution right in the middle, and then make sure you have an even scaled balance on either side of at least one number. So we're starting with negative 3. So I'm putting negative 2 on one side, negative 4 on the other side. Obviously, the least number is on the left, as it is a number line. So because this has the or equal to part, this is a closed circle, and less than would imply that everything less than negative 3 is also going to work. So that's why the arrow, and make it very, very bold going off to the left or the right. Notice also on mine, I don't have this arrow up in the air over here above the number line. It's right a part of the number line, and it's very, very dark so that I can tell the difference between the number line arrows and the solution set arrows. You can see on the second one, it looks like we have x is, oh, this is actually wrong. I'm glad I'm catching this right now. So notice on this one, we are seeing negative 2 is less than x. So here's where you want to think about reversing this. Once I have my solution with the x being on the left-hand side, that's going to give us a better opportunity to see that we have the right answer. So please make sure you are not just copying this down blindly, because I made a mistake in this, which is a very common mistake. We see the less than sign and we draw it to the left, when in reality we still have the open circle because its x is greater than, but this arrow should be going off this way and definitely not going off that way. So please make sure your note shows this accurately. When I bring the x to the left-hand side, I have to reverse the sign when it comes along with it. In the last one, x is greater than 0. This one does have the x on the left-hand side, so I can just follow the inequality symbol like it's an arrow here. So I have an open circle right on the 0, and it's going off to the right. So again, a couple key things. Doesn't have to be centered on 0, but you should have at least 3 numbers. Open or closed circle is on the number that the variable is equal to. So notice the variable was equal to 0. Open because it doesn't have the or equal to part. The y is equal to -3, so we're using the -3 down the middle, but it's closed because of the or equal to part. So we all make mistakes, and I'm glad I caught that as I was talking to you. So here's some of these writing it from a graph. So now we see the graph, and we want to write what our solutions are. So looking at this graph, we can see that it's a closed circle, so that means it has to include the or equal to part. It is going to the greater than side, so I'm going to call this h because they mentioned in the word problem that the height restriction was h. H is greater than or equal to 48. On the next one, we can see that we have the open circle at 52, which means that 52 in our inequality is not okay. But everything right up to 52 is. So, for example, 51.9 repeating in height would be okay, but not 52 or higher. So the open circle has to be represented by the less than sign because we are not including 52 and it's anything less than. And then h is again the height restriction, 52, and we want to make sure that we understand that 52 is not a solution, but everything less than that actually is. With obviously the understanding that at 0, you can't have somebody that is 0 height or less than 0. So really, in reality, it would stop and not go on forever to the left, but you get the idea for how this works. So hopefully this makes some sense, and we'll check back in with the next inequality video. And if you have any questions, please talk to me in class.